7 years ago, I was on a beach in Indonesia. And on this beach were sitting two women doing something I'd never seen before. So, curious as I was, I walked up to them and asked them, "Can you tell me, what are you doing?" And they said, "We are farming seaweed." I said, "Seaweed, that's interesting. Can you show me how to do it?" They said, "Sure. You take a piece of seaweed, you put it on a line, then you put the line in the water. Then you wait for about 3 months, and you take the line out again. And what you get is a big bunch of seaweed, just like this." I was like, "Wow, that's really, really cool, but what do you do with the seaweed?" They said, "We eat it." I said, "You eat it? Seriously?" I said, "Yeah. Here's a piece of homemade seaweed pie. Do you want to try it?" I was like, "Yeah, sure, because you're in Asia to try new stuff, right?" So, as I was eating the seaweed pie, it was actually really, really nice, by the way, but something up here, something just clicked. I was like, oh my God, these two women right here on this remote beach in Indonesia might be having the future of our food in their hands. And this thought never really left my mind. When I went back to Europe to study nutrition, I was always looking for ways to do something with seaweed. But back then, nobody was doing anything with seaweed and human nutrition in Europe. Although I did find a place where I could study the effects of seaweed on farmed salmon. And what I found was really, really interesting, because seaweed actually makes the salmon healthier. Not only themselves, but also for us to eat. And we found similar results in other animals. And this really made me wonder again, like, if it's so good for animals, what would it do to me? So I started a little experiment on myself and started eating seaweed. And first, really nothing happened. For 1 or 2 weeks, it was all right. Nothing really a big change or anything. But after a while, I noticed I had a little bit more energy. You know that? The feeling that you just want to go out and do stuff, you know, do your dishes, those sort of things. Yeah. But the biggest difference I noticed was, well, in the ocean. Have anyone of you been to Ireland? It's a really cold country, right? I was living in Ireland back then. And it's not only a country that's cold, it's also the ocean. I tell you that, especially in winter, when you're surfing in your thickest wetsuit, you just want to get out. After 1.5 hours, you're just tired and cold and exhausted. But with the seaweed, I could stay in longer, be warmer, and, to the frustration of my surfing friends, catch more waves. And this really, really made me wonder. Well, the point I'm trying to make here is that the more I work with seaweed, and the more I involve seaweed in my life, the more fascinating it becomes, and the more I see the future of our food. And I'm here today to tell you why. The first thing that really, really fascinates me is that our bodies are actually already used to eating seaweed. That is because long, long ago, our ancestors, they used to eat it all the time. They used to live near the ocean and eat seaweed, amongst doing other things, of course. It's not only eating seaweed, what they did. But the thing is, genetically, we are still pretty much the same as our ancestors. It's only our lifestyle that's changed. And if we put back into our lifestyle their healthy lifestyle, then our quality of life can also improve. For example, look at the body. All of us, that we move too little, right? But if we look at what our ancestors' bodies used to do, they used to hunt, not Pokemons, but like really, like they used to go out and hunt or gather food. And if we move now, and we move like them, it actually makes us a lot healthier. And the same is true for our food. If we look at what they ate, that is seeds, that's nuts, that's vegetables, that's fruits, that's fatty fish. If we put more of those things into our diet becomes healthier. And if we add in a bit of seaweed, our health may even become a lot better. And that is because seaweed contains a lot of unique compounds. Compounds that are found nowhere else on this planet, just in seaweed. And those compounds can do unique things to our bodies. For example, seaweeds contain compounds that can block viruses from entering our cells. They contain compounds that take really good care of our intestinal health, which is nowadays associated with a lot of welfare diseases such as diabetes and cardiovascular disease and even depression. Plus, seaweed can help us burn fat. And it's not only researchers who discovered this. It's also Jamie Oliver who recently declared that seaweed helped him lose weight. Now, all of this comes really down to one basic principle. And that is putting something natural, like seaweed, back into something natural, which is our bodies in this case. Thereby, we restore a natural balance. And this natural balance can only be restored in our bodies when we start eating seaweed. It can also be restored in the world in which we live. And to demonstrate this, I brought with me, I bought it this morning, a lettuce. And I also brought with me here, in this cylinder, some sea lettuce. Now, as you see, they not only look pretty similar, also the taste is pretty similar. This lettuce, have any one of you any idea how much fresh water, for example, it requires to grow this lettuce? How many liters?
50?
65 liters for fresh water for one lettuce. And that's 7 showers. Like, you can shower a whole week or eat one lettuce. It's up to you. No, you can do both. We'll get to that later. The point I'm trying to make is that it's not only fresh water. It's also, in order to grow this lettuce, we need as much fertilizer to keep your garden growing for a month. Plus, as many pesticides to kill over 100 snails. Now, this really shows that our agricultural food system is, I'm dropping a leaf of lettuce here, that our agricultural food system is really putting a lot of pressure on our Mother Earth. But let's take the sea lettuce. I promised the organization not to put any water on the stage, but sea lettuce, in order to grow sea lettuce, you need none of this. No pesticides, no fresh water, and no fertilizer. And moreover, it's not only those things, it's also the fact that sea lettuce, and not only sea lettuce, but all seaweeds grow so fast that they grow about 10 times as fast as the fastest growing crop on land. And this means that with a relatively small ocean surface, we can feed the whole world. In fact, we can even feed the whole world in 2050, when we're with 9 or 10 billion people on this planet, with only 2% of our ocean's waters. 2%. That's about the size of, twice the size of Portugal. But all those people will never eat seaweed unless it tastes really, really good. And to demonstrate this, I brought with me here some Himantalia. Now, Himantalia is a seaweed, as you see, right here. This is how you would buy it in the supermarket. However, I don't think anyone would buy something dry and dodgy like this unless you know what to do with it, right? So, let me tell you that by putting this dry seaweed into boiling water that within 5 minutes, you will have something more like this, which looks a lot more like spaghetti. And with the same amount of effort as making a spaghetti bolognese, you can actually make a spaghetti bolognese. I'm so glad that didn't happen. Now, another very, very interesting seaweed is wakame. I don't have any wakame here on the stage because it's not the season for wakame. However, wakame looks and tastes like spinach. I like to put it in my green curry. And I also like to put it every now and then on my pizza. Or in a nice smoothie in the morning. It's really, really nice. But we now come to my favorite seaweed. And this is a really, really nice seaweed because first, it looks like this. But then, when you have a frying pan and have some oil, you can put this in your pan and make what is under here. And I can't wait for this tech talk to be over because then I can eat this, what's under here. It does actually taste like bacon. And I love it with my egg in the morning. Now, as you can see, I'm a big fan of seaweed. And and that is because these seaweeds, and it's just these 3, right? But there's many, many more to be discovered on your plate. These seaweeds can either complement or replace our current commodity foods, making both our diet and our planet healthier and happier. I hope that from this talk, I have generated a little of my own fascination within all of you. But more than that, I hope that after this talk, that next time when you will have an encounter with seaweed, whether it be in a restaurant, in your local supermarket, or even on the beach somewhere, that you will be just as curious as I was back then on that beach in Asia 7 years ago. And that you will also try seaweed yourself. I promise you, it won't disappoint you. And probably you will, just like me, see the future of our food. Thank you.